welcome back to my channel and welcome to this month's Money Diaries. If you guys are new here, I started this series last month, very heavily inspired by the amazing Zoe Pritchard. She actually films like her monthly budget wrap up in this kind of chatty style video, and I like to use it as a bit of a mid-month check-in to chat with you guys about various finance and budgeting topics and just kind of like have like a little hangout. It almost feels like a friend being like, so how was your month with money? And we're just like sitting down over coffee chatting about it. I have so much to catch you guys up on this month, and if you guys are new here, I also film monthly reset videos in which I talk about like my previous month budget and then the next month's budget, but I find I can't really go super in depth in those videos because we're doing so much in them already. So these videos are great as kind of like a little mid-month check-in, or if I've been getting a lot of questions about something, I just love to sit down with a fresh coffee and chat with you guys about it. Can we just take a second for how stinking cute my mug is? I'm obsessed, and that's something we're going to be talking about this month too, Mr. Mickey Mouse. So I'm super excited. Grab your coffee, your tea. If it's the evening, grab a beer, a wine, a seltzer, a water, whatever you want. And honestly, let's just sit down and catch up about March, because March was a month, let me tell you. Working on having an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. And you know, money comes, money goes, money is flowing, you know, money is not something bad. We shouldn't be ashamed to spend money. So this month was really, really good for that. I was really proud of myself. I kind of view it like almost how I view food, is that the less I restrict, the better I actually do with money. And obviously this method isn't really for everyone, but it works really well for me. So just wanted to do a little update because that is one of my 2022 financial goals, is to just work on my mindset with money. And this month was a really, really good month, honestly, in terms of like my mindset and stuff. So I just write down notes throughout the month of things that I want to talk about with you guys as they come up. So one of the big things I'm realizing is that I enjoy spending money on wellness. I enjoy spending money on my health and fitness and wellness and all that stuff, and I know it can add up, so I'm trying to be very conscious about it. But that is something that I've realized I enjoy spending money on. So this month I actually switched gyms. I was at a pretty cheap gym before, nothing against it. However, you guys know I'm kind of in a season of life where I'm out of like lifting and weight training and focusing a lot on low intensity movement and just feeling good and kind of getting my body moving. And the classes at the gym just weren't great, and I find I'm in a season of life where I just need that motivation from a group class. So I was kind of talking about it with Matt, and he was like, well, if you want to switch to a nicer gym, like if you're going to go, then do it. So I ended up switching from Good Life to Movati. Just the classes are a lot better. There's so much more. There's like bar, Pilates, spin, yoga, and like the money I was spending on these individual classes at studios, like one class basically pays for my 2-week membership, you know what I mean? So I've been really loving that and trying to not feel guilty for going to a nicer gym if I'm kind of getting the most out of it and using it. So that's something I definitely realized this month, is that I enjoy spending money on health and wellness, and it's something that I need to make a priority. I also bought, I don't know if it was this month or last month, maybe it was this month. No, I think it was in February, but I ended up buying a 10-pack of spin classes because I just really enjoy going to spin. We have a spin bike at home and I love using it on days that I'm kind of lazy, but nothing motivates you like going to like a real spin class. So I have those as well, and I've been kind of using those occasionally as like a little treat because I have a 10-pack. So I've been kind of sprinkling in like one every week or 2 weeks, but spending money on wellness brings me a lot of joy, and that also encompasses like supplements and whatnot. So collagen is so expensive and blah, blah, blah. And obviously I'm not saying you need supplements, but I was always like collagen and greens powder and my multivitamin, like those are so expensive. But then I would go and spend like $100 on books, which there's nothing wrong with buying books, but it was just kind of like funny how I wouldn't spend that money on myself, but I would spend it on books. And so I'm trying to rework my mind and work in those supplements into my budgets when they come up. A great way to do that is to have a sinking fund. But I'm really trying to focus on, you know, like, yes, you can spend the $40 on collagen, like cut back from somewhere else. Like this is something that makes you feel good. It's something worth investing in, and just kind of rewiring my brain that like it's okay to spend money on supplements if you need them, protein powders, etc. This month was good for that. I didn't feel any guilt buying them. I use them. They make me feel good, and like that's kind of what matters. I am currently on a book ban still. I was really good this month. I only bought one book. I'm really proud of myself. I don't do well with restriction in general. It doesn't go with my personality as a whole, whether it's food, buying things, like you name it. I don't do well with restriction. So I was kind of curious to see how the book ban went, and when I filmed my spring reset and I went to the bookstore to find a spring book, I let myself buy the book. I could have easily stopped myself, but I also just don't do well with restriction, and I knew if I didn't buy that one book, I would probably buy like 10. So I'm really proud of myself. The book ban for me is kind of more of like a metaphor. It's more of like you don't need to buy 10 new books. You need to read the ones you have, if that makes sense. It's more of just like a light thing, not like an intense book ban, but I bought one book. I'm really proud of myself. I mean, I did buy a lot of books in February. However, they were all used. If you guys did not see that video, I filmed a crazy insane like thrifting book haul, and I spent like 20 bucks and I got like 10 books. It was insane. Really proud of myself, and I just want to acknowledge that because one book, I'm proud of myself. It was full price. I did use points, but still, I'm really proud of myself. I did have, however, and I wanted to address this in this video, that I typically order pre-orders a few months ahead of time. So this month there was a ton of new releases that came out. Hook, Line, Sinker, The Golden Couple, The People's Princess, and something else. Dating Dr. Dill. So that's 4 new releases, and 2 of them I pre-ordered at Indigo back in January, so I just like paid for that back then, and then the 2 others I got at the grocery store. And to be quite honest with you guys, sometimes if Matt and I are doing groceries and I see a book that's 30% off and like we're doing groceries, I'll put it in the cart, and then Matt and I take turns paying for groceries, so sometimes he pays for it, sometimes I do, which is probably why it seems that my amount of books I buy and my budget isn't adding up. It's because a lot of the time Matt and I are out running errands and it gets thrown in like the grocery cart and it just goes into like the grocery budget. I don't separate it out. So anyways, really proud of myself, and yeah, so that's how the book ban is going so far. Another thing I wanted to address, and I think I'm going to use these also to just address common questions, is why I'm not paying off my car loan early. And this is something, I feel like there's a lot in the air right now, and it's something I wanted to talk about because I feel like a lot of people go through this. So, you know, you pay off your original big debt or whatever it is you want to pay off, you save up your emergency fund, and you know, for so long, you're like, okay, I'm saving this amount of money in my savings. For me, it was $10,000. But then after that happens, you're like, okay, what do I do? And I'm very overwhelmed in terms of what to do. So I'm curious what you guys would do if you're in my shoes. I'm just very overwhelmed and I don't know where to start. And it's a little daunting to me, to be quite honest, as much as I love saving. So I did get a new car. Well, kind of, not really. I did have a 2018 Ford Focus that I ended up trading in for a 2017 Elantra. It's just more reliable. And I did finance my Elantra even with the trade-in, just because it helps build credit. I have a super low interest rate. And so for me, and this is always the advice I was given, if your interest rate is under a certain percent, it makes more sense to invest that money than pay it off. So like, let's say your car interest rate is 1.89%, it makes more sense to invest that extra money you'd be putting on the car if you're getting a return of 7 or 8% a year on, like, let's say investing. So I am kind of in between wanting to pay off my car early and also not, because my interest rate is so low, it makes more sense to invest that money. So that's a question I got a lot on my last few videos, is like, why aren't you paying off your car loan? And that's kind of why, but I'm also just like not opposed to paying off my car. However, the priorities right now are, which is funny because in my March reset routine and my March budget, I was like, I'm not doing the car insurance thing anymore. I'm not dealing with that, but I do need to do that. It's very important to me. I want to pay my car insurance for the year as a whole, because I have high risk insurance because I've had 2 car accidents. So it makes more sense for me to save up that money throughout the year and then just pay it off in the big chunk in May, because that payment is like $390 a month. It will probably go down this year because some things are coming off my record, but yeah, so I definitely still need to prioritize that, as well as home renovations. We are redoing our kitchen this year, and the estimate we got was around $5,000 for the kitchen itself, like cabinets, countertops, etc. But then we need to get a dishwasher, so we're kind of estimating around $8,000 total. So I want to have about $5,000 saved just to be safe in case it gets up to 10. So my priorities right now are car insurance first, and then start putting money into my home renovation fund. So those are kind of the order of things I'm doing it in. And then if there's anything after that, I haven't really decided yet. I originally said I wanted to maybe put some extra money onto our mortgage, but maybe I should be putting it towards my car. I don't really know, but I'm just going to kind of put not the blinders on, but kind of just focus on the first task at hand, which is saving for my car insurance. And I really overwhelm myself in thinking like 6 months out, like what do I need to have saved? What's coming up? What do I need to do? Blah, blah, blah. Priority right now is definitely car insurance. Like a little update on like what's kind of coming. March was an expensive month. I didn't get to save any money this month, but that is just life. And that's why I'm so happy I had that $10,000 saved. I, don't get me wrong, was paid money that I could have saved, but things came up. It was just kind of one of those months. I paid my taxes this month. So now I owe $2,800 again. So that's fun. So the money I made this month from AdSense and stuff went right into paying my taxes, which sucks, but I'm really grateful that I have the means to do that. I got one brand deal payment this month, and that went on my credit card because I ended up actually getting a new camera. So I'm not filming on it, but I got a G7X for traveling, and I like to put business back into the business. So yeah, I am, however, waiting on an insane amount of brand deal money, like almost, I want to say probably close to $3,000-$4,000 of just brand deals from like December, January, February. And that's just the life of being a content creator, is sometimes you just don't get paid on time, and that's okay. Like, I'm not complaining. This is just the way it is. And you guys know I do save a decent amount of my YouTube income. So once I get some payments in, I'll be able to throw some money into like the car insurance sinking fund and stuff. But for now, I'm just kind of riding out. It was just a evened out month, you know, and that's okay. There's gonna be months like that. That's totally fine, but it is what it is. I'm trying to think of what else I have to talk about with you guys. I got a lot of questions about our trip. So if you guys don't know, we're going to Disney World, and I'm really excited. I was an annual pass holder for 3-ish years in college, and you know, going in college is kind of different. You go on a budget and stuff like that, and I wanted to break it down in this video a little bit. I am going to film like a what we spent in a week at Disney World video once we get back. I think that'd be so fun. But I always kind of went on a really strict budget because I was in college, and you know, I was like working part-time and I had all these bills to pay and yada yada yada. But now it's exciting and it's a little bit different, and I'm really looking forward to this trip. So this trip is a little different in terms of spending money, because a lot of this was money and credit we had because of like postponing so many times during the pandemic. So Matt's tickets, he already had 7-day tickets from when we booked it originally for September 2020, because we were naive and thought the pandemic would last a few months. So he already had park tickets, which is like a decent chunk of your trip. I had to buy park tickets because originally September 2020 I would have still had my annual pass because it didn't expire until January 2021. And obviously, since we're going 2022, I haven't renewed my annual pass. I did have to pay for park tickets. I paid for these about a year ago because we originally were going to go in September of 2021. I already paid for those, like that credit card's paid off, yada yada yada. Actually, we've paid for everything, but just like not immediately. The only thing we immediately paid for, or like that we budgeted for, whatever, is our hotel. So we're staying at Pop Century for 6 days, and that is around, I want to say it's $1,200 US, because we got the Canadian, I don't know, I think it was like 10 or 15% off, so it'll be around 1,500 Canadian. I'm paying for the hotel. People always ask and are so pressed that Matt and I split things. It's just like what works for us. But I did say that I would pay for the hotel just because Disney is a little pricier when it comes to food and stuff, and we have a lot of renovations coming up. So we're gonna, well, I'll get into that in a sec, but I'm paying for our hotel just out of the kindness of my heart. And then I also did rent DVC points for our last night. We're staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and I did pay for that. That was, I think, $400. Like I said, I'll give you guys more of a breakdown in that video of what we spend in a week. In terms of our airline, WestJet, or we have WestJet. I have a WestJet credit card. I get a companion voucher, so Matt flies for free, and then I fly with points, and then we just have to pay taxes. So we paid a couple hundred in taxes on those flights, and then just like food and whatnot. And this trip is interesting, and I'm doing something that I don't normally do. I budget a certain amount of money for food and souvenirs and stuff, and I'll tell you guys why. And for some people it might not make sense, but for us it does. We're in a really privileged situation right now where there is extra money coming in, right? And I had that $10,000 saved, and I really wanted to make this like, I'm not saying you have to spend a lot of money to make it a memorable trip, but I don't want us to worry about money. We're a little bit older, we're a little bit more financially secure, and it's really exciting to go into a trip and kind of just be able to get whatever you want. But we are doing things on a budget, from the sense that we're not doing any sit-down restaurants. Well, maybe 1 or 2, but we're doing pretty much all quick service, which is Disney's like fast food. I'm really curious, and this kind of goes back to my relationship with like hardcore budgeting and just conscious spending. I'm not setting a budget for this trip. I have a rough budget in mind, and Matt and I are obviously we put everything on one credit card when we travel, and then we split it at the end, because I have an American credit card, or a travel credit card, so I don't get like dinged buying things in the US. So I have decided I'm gonna kind of take this as like a trial run and have a bit more of like just a conscious spending trip, and we'll see how it goes. I have that money put aside, so like I can pay off the credit card as soon as we get back from the trip. Like that's not an issue, but I'm not giving ourselves a strict budget because I want to see how it goes. Also, it is our anniversary trip, so what we do at home, which is, you know, conscious spending and being aware of our purchases instead of hardcore budgeting, and try it on the trip. So I'm not saying we're going balling out by any means. We're just going to be very conscious about what we're spending, and we are doing all fast food pretty much, except for I think 1 or 2 dining reservations we have for table service, which is just like a sit-down restaurant at Disney. So I'm sure on the food end it will be relatively inexpensive, inexpensive by Disney means, but I'm really excited, and I'll break down everything for you guys when we get home. But that's something I'm doing as well, is just trying to go into this trip just consciously spending. I don't need a ton of souvenirs. Matt and I both agreed we just like want to be there, you know what I mean? The one thing we will say is we are paying for Genie Plus because we don't really know when we're going to be back. I'm sure it'll be next year. Like, we plan on taking 1 Disney trip a year, most likely, whether that be California or here. For sure, we're going to pay for the a la carte individual lightning lanes, because there's no way in hell I'm missing out on Mickey, Minnie's Runaway Railway and Ratatouille since we haven't ridden them. In terms of the Genie Plus and the $15 a day, we'll kind of decide which parks we think are worth it for. For example, Animal Kingdom I don't think is worth it for us to do because there's not many rides open right now. And giving ourselves the option that if we want Genie Plus, we'll just pay for it that day. So hopefully that makes sense. Oh, another thing I wanted to talk about was I actually just got a new credit card. So I've been toying with the idea of leaving, not leaving, that sounds dramatic, but getting rid of my WestJet credit card for a little bit, because I've personally found that WestJet's customer service during the pandemic has not been great. And I know it's a stressful time for everybody, but just was not impressed with their customer service for the most part. And the WestJet credit card, like, the points are okay. It's a good starter credit card, I'd say, to like kind of figure out your bearings in terms of like accumulating points. The one thing we don't like is, I think it's important to be like tied to an airline, right? Because you want to build up a rapport with them, fly with them a lot, accumulate points and flying status. But we have noticed that it kind of just sucks having a credit card that's tied to like just an airline. You can't use it for hotels or anything. So I did some experimenting, that sounds weird. I did some like asking in different groups. I'm in a bunch of like Canadian Disney groups about just what people use for their credit cards. And a lot of people recommended the RBC Avion Visa. So I applied for that, and that's coming in the mail. And the reason I like that one a bit more, and I think once I use it, I'll be able to talk about it a bit more and recommend it, is because it's a cashback credit card for travel, in the sense that you get points, but you can redeem those points on any airline, any hotel, etc., which I really like, because WestJet is great in Holland. Having a credit card tied to an airline is great. Like, I think we're going to keep that one as my business credit card, because I can write off the annual fee and stuff, and I can accumulate points pretty quick with it being a business credit card and big purchases. However, sometimes you're just stuck with these WestJet points that don't translate over to a hotel or another airline if it's a lot cheaper. We notice Air Canada can be a lot cheaper to fly to Orlando and stuff. So I got that. I'm excited to try it out. We'll report back once I get it, and I've used it for a little bit. There was a good deal going on. I think I got 35,000 welcome points or something. So I'm really excited about that. I'm not sure if it'll come before our trip. I'm kind of hoping it does. It's Tuesday and we leave next Thursday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, they said 7 business days, so it might come before our trip. I hope it does, so I can kind of see how I like it with our spending at Disney. So that's another update I have for you guys. The next, and like one of the big ones I want to talk about too, was impulse spending. And this is one of the biggest things I struggled with when I started making a decent amount of money, was impulse spending. And it's one of the questions I get the most. So I wanted to kind of give you guys some of my tips and tricks for impulse spending a little bit. So the first one is unsubscribing from like all those emails that you get. I don't get any emails for sales, because when I would see like Aries 40% off, I'd be like, I need something. No, you don't. You don't need something, you know? That's a really big tip I have. The next is like a 2-week rule. So something I started doing was giving myself savings goals when I hit milestones. And whenever I would want something, let's say it was a set active set, I have a note on my phone and it's literally called impulse purchases. And I will write down what I want on there and the date that I want it. And then in like 2 weeks or a month later, I'll go back to that note and be like, okay, do I still really want it? Because a lot of the impulse spending comes from the high we get ordering something or the high that comes when we get something in the mail. And so I found that if I wrote down like set, active, set, blah, 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 and then I went back in 2 weeks, I was like, oh, I don't actually need a new set. You know what I mean? Or if I did decide I really wanted it, I would make it a milestone in my savings goals. So for example, I really wanted a pair of On Cloud running shoes. I have my Vesties. I love them, but they're really dirty because they're waterproof. They're kind of like dog park shoes. I wanted some On Clouds. They're a little bit of a pricier shoe. So I put that in my little note, and you know, then 2 weeks later, I was still thinking about them. A month later, I was still thinking about them. And so that's when I knew, I was like, okay, I really want these. I'll make use out of them. So then I told myself when I hit $10,000 in my savings, I could treat myself to the pair of shoes. I hit that goal and I bought the shoes and I'm really happy. So that's one way I try to avoid impulse spending. And yeah, so that's kind of how the month is going. A lot of things were kind of like all over the place in this video, but that's that. Let me know, would you guys be interested in seeing a video on like all of my income streams and all of my different accounts and credit cards and stuff? I feel like that video is a little bit popular. I've seen it kind of going around and I thought that'd be maybe fun to do as well. I always get asked like, what investment accounts do you have? How many actual savings accounts do you have? What credit cards do you have? How many do you have? And then also just break down the split of income on a monthly basis. So let me know if you guys want to see that, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love just chatting with you guys. It's a really good way to get things off my chest too. It's really therapeutic for me to talk about money to a camera. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to give this a big thumbs up if you did. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!